Hey everyone, this is Steve Elliott, owner and developer of Blazot. Blazot is a social media networking platform available at blazot.com. And from here, you can sign up and log in and use the application through the web browser if you choose, or you can scroll to the bottom of the homepage and get the apps from the app stores. You can also read a little bit about Blazot here on the homepage or view the couple commercials that are here. In order to sign up, it's just a quick little sign up form here where you'll fill out a little bit of information, click the I'm not a robot checkbox, and sign up. One thing that's really important to mention is if you are intending to create an account for your business or organization or something like that, that you're better off to not do that here. You're better off to create a personal account here with your own, your own name and your own personal username that's not the same as what you want to use for the business. Because if you use that username here, it won't be available for the business. I want to make sure and make that clear. And if you have any questions about any of these fields, you can click on these little help icons here and get a little bit more information. So once you log in, you'll be able to create a site for your business organization, and I'll show some more about that here in a minute. Now, once you get logged in, this is what the application is going to look like. I want to point out, though, that this is not the live website that I'm giving the demo with. This is a local running instance that I have on my machine, and this will make it easier for me to showcase some of the features. So just so it's not confusing about why some of this information may not be on the live site, I just want to explain that real quick. Also, if you go to your profile and add your profile image, at least, then click on this share button. You can share your profile on these other platforms just by clicking on each of these. And that will help make others aware of your profile here on Blazot. And also, if they come over and sign up and you follow them and they follow you, it'll make your experience a lot better, because then your home feed will be populated by friends and family and people you already know. And it may be more interesting to you than the stuff in the universal feed. But if you don't have anyone to follow that you're already familiar with, you can go to the universal feed and follow people from there that you're interested in. The universal feed is going to be just kind of like a little bit of everything. Now the home feed will be just accounts you follow, and the transmissions will be in the order that they transmitted them. Whereas the universal feed is going to be based on, sort of an algorithm that will decide what shows up in there. And that's the big difference between these two, and that's why the home feed is really, in my opinion, it's the most important. And that's why it makes it so much different some of the other platforms, such as Facebook, where they will just put a bunch of stuff in your home feed that maybe you're not interested in, and you might only see a small part of the content from the people you actually follow, or your friends. So to me, that's one of the key points of the home feed here. One of the most used parts of Blazot will be sending transmissions, so let's talk a little bit about that. Up here in the top of your home feed, there'll be a box here where you can enter a transmission. So you can say something like, "Have a nice day," and you could transmit that, and that will show up as a new transmission in the feeds. You could also add images to it. Click on this icon here underneath that box there. Choose a few images. And then if you want to remove them, you change your mind, you can just click this X here, and then you can also add more from here. And you'll be able to upload a certain number based on your subscription level, or if you don't have one, the default is 10. So if you're not a subscriber, you can upload up to 10 images in a transmission, which I think in most cases that's still plenty. So it's submitted. Now you can see here the gallery has these images in it within the transmission, and you can navigate through them by clicking on these little arrows. If you want to delete it, click on the menu in the transmission. When it's yours, you can delete it. You get this confirmation to make sure that's what you're wanting to do. You can also upload videos to your transmissions, and there are a few options here. First, you can click this video icon and select your video, and this will allow you to upload it into your transmission. And this has a max file size of 512 megabytes or max duration of 2 minutes and 55 seconds for standard users. If you are a subscriber, you may be able to upload longer videos or a larger file size. It just depends based on the subscription level. And from here you can transmit it. And once it's sent to the server, it's going to go through some processing where it makes sure that the video is the correct duration and some stuff like that. It will resize the video if it's a little bit too large. And you'll get this alert here once it's done. You'll also receive a notification, because you could technically receive an alert if someone else has sent a transmission that you're following here too. But once you get this notification that it's finished processing, then you know it's ready to go. If it fails for some reason, maybe it's a bad codec or missing some information, sometimes video software that you may use to resize things might do a poor job of adding the correct information to the video. So it could fail for some reason. You would receive that in a notification too. So, and you can see that the video player here is a Blazot video player with the custom controls and stuff down here. You can delete it here and get the confirmation to make sure you really mean to delete it. You can also add videos from other platforms. So let's say we want to add one from Rumble. You just paste in the link that's a Rumble link or a YouTube link, and you may have to hit a space bar in order to get it to go fetch the preview. And this will allow you to upload maybe a video you already have somewhere else that you don't necessarily want to go through and upload, or maybe it's a longer duration, or it might be an hour or 2 hours long or something on those other platforms. And this will allow you to actually still put it in your transmission, and it displays just the same as this right here. So it still shows up in here for people to play. Also, I know Rumble offers monetization. It probably still monetizes inside the Blazot feed here, because it does have the query parameters on here that lets them know that it was being played somewhere else. But I'm not 100% sure about that. You could, once you upload it, you can go ahead and check your statistics and stuff on Rumble to make sure that that's, actually happening. This X here will clear out the transmission field here. Something else you can do is add links to external websites. So that you typically want to add some context into your transmission that kind of explains what the link's about. It's more engaging that way, and people are more likely to use it. So you could just say, you're adding some information, whatever it is, you would add something. Then you would type in the link or paste it in. I don't know, let's say we're wanting to link to NASA. And then you would hit spacebar in order to tell it to go fetch. And then it gives you a preview here with some information. Now, sometimes there may not be anything fetched, like because of the way their website's set up. Maybe it tried to fetch and found nothing, so it would just not show a preview. Also, you can remove this if you don't want the preview in the transmission, just by clicking this X here, and then it would just be the text only. And in order to show this preview, you do have to have some text in it. You can't just remove this and leave it empty. It won't transmit if you try to do that. But let's just transmit this here. Now you'll see that it has this preview inside the transmission. Another thing here is animated GIFs. Animated GIFs are a fun way to add a little bit of personality to your transmissions. So you can choose just an animated GIF here. You can type a message up here if you want. This is oftentimes a good way to respond to some other transmissions and stuff if there's some GIF that represents the feeling you're trying to convey. So you transmit that, and here you can see that it's showing up in your transmission. Emotes are pretty typical, really across the web and applications. So you would just click on this, you could choose an emote, and then you could send it from here. This X here just clears out your transmission if you want to reset it. You can also add polls. Now with the images, videos, and animated GIFs, you don't absolutely have to have text in those transmissions, but with a poll you do have to have text. So you could add a question to your poll and then fill out your choices. Let's say red, orange. And now to add more, you would click this plus icon over here. And we'll just leave it with 3 for now. And you can see that it's keeping track of how many characters you have in there and how many you're allowed to have. And like I said, you can do up to 5 of these. You set the duration to 7 days or whatever, however long you want it to go within this limit, and transmit it. And now at this point, people can vote on it, and they just have to choose the one they want to vote. Choose red, and now you can see I voted on it. I see a little check mark here for me personally about where I voted. And as people vote, this number will change to show the running total, but also it shows the total down here of how many people voted and the duration left in the before it completes. And until, like, if this shows up on someone else's feed, they won't be able to see this number until they vote. So once you vote, you can see it, or once it completes, you can see it. Now I want to mention how you interact with transmissions, and that's these buttons across the bottom of them here. You can see you can react, respond, or relay. Just to react to one, you would just click the button and choose your reaction from the list here. And you can see it's reacted here. You can see a list of reactions when you click here. If you want to undo that, just click it again and confirm that you want to remove it. If you want to respond to it, you can open this by clicking that button, and you can type in your message here and click respond, and it'll be a response to this transmission, which is technically still its own transmission. It's just responding to that one. Everything is a transmission on its own too. If you want to relay this, the first option here is just a simple relay. The second one adds a comment to it. So if you just do a simple relay here, you'll see it loads up top here, and it puts your name up here that you relayed it, and it's pretty basic. After that, it's just that transmission. If you want to undo it, just click it again on the relay down here, and that'll undo it. Now if you want to relay with a comment, you would type your comment in here, click relay, and now you'll see that the comment is here, and that transmission exists within this one now. So it's just 2 different ways of relaying. One other thing I want to mention up here in the transmissions is you can mention users or accounts, and also you can add hashtags in the text box up here. So let's say you was wanting to mention someone, you would hit the @ symbol or type in the @ symbol, and then start to type the username of whoever it is that you're trying to mention, and then the more you type, the closer it's going to get and narrow down this list. You can just select the account you're trying to mention, and then you would type some text or whatever, just like normal. But then let's say you want to add a hashtag, and you would start to type that after the hashtag symbol and select it. And then when you transmit it, of course, you're going to be able to click on the hashtag to go look at other transmissions that also have a hashtag. Or you're going to be able to go view the account that's mentioned in there. And of course, this is, like I said, just basic test information. I don't even have the cover image on this, but we'll talk about the site more here in just a minute. I want to mention a little bit more about this bar here too when you're interacting as a site or the various different accounts. And that's if you choose to interact as, say, one of the sites. First, you're going to see this warning show up over here just to remind you that you're interacting as a site and not your own personal account. This is just to make sure that if you're representing a company or something and you're a manager of their site and you accidentally choose that, a little bit of an extra notice here that if you go type in something, you're really acting on behalf of that other site at the moment. So that's important and something you should be aware of. But at this point, you'll see that this changed, and that's because now that I'm interacting as test site, I'm seeing as if it was me that reacted there. And you can see the test site's the one that did that reaction. And if I change it back, it's gone because now I'm interacting as my own personal account. And this is an easy way to interact as your site with various transmissions without having to log out, log back in as your site, or use a different browser or whatever, all that other stuff that makes it more difficult. This is just an easy way to do it. And same goes for responding and stuff. If you choose that, you type in, now you'll see up here it says you're interacting as test site. And when you type this in and click respond, you're going to be doing it on behalf of the site. And also I want to mention, if you click this menu here on someone else's transmission that's not yours or one of the accounts that you're managing, so, one of the sites that you're managing, you will get a different menu options here where you can either follow them or unfollow them, ignore them, or report their transmission. So if there's an account maybe somewhere in one of the feeds, most likely like a universal feed, that is posting stuff that you don't want to see, then you could ignore that account and then it won't show up in your feed anymore. But if you change your mind, you could just click on the top right menu here and go to manage ignores, and you can unignore them, and then it will show up again. And if they've posted something that's illegal or X-rated or something really extreme, you can report the transmission, and you'll have a few things to choose from and submit it, and then someone will review it and decide if it is something that needs handled or not. Now let's head on over to the profile and look at managing this. From here you can click edit profile, or you can also do it from the top right menu. Go to edit profile. You can change your display name, your profile picture or cover photo, and your general information here. The location does show up on your profile, so make sure and be aware of that. Don't put a location in here unless you want it to be publicly visible. The birthday is just here to make sure people are old enough to use the site. I am planning on adding a birthdays feature at some point, which will be similar to other platforms where when your birthday arrives, it will just say, hey, everyone, it's your birthday over here on the right or whatever, assuming you have that enabled. But that's more of a future feature. Also, I want to mention these little icons here next to these fields. And it's like it's throughout the app. These icons just give you some more information about the fields. So it's helpful to use these if you're unsure what a field does. Also, this checkbox here, all this does is if you look at the profile right now, you'll see there's no border around here. If you click this and update, then you'll see now there's a little border around it. Just separates it from the cover image. Just, sometimes you might have a profile picture and a cover image that are similar in color or something, and they kind of blend in, and maybe you don't want that. So that's what that's about. And from here, let's go to the configuration. Now in this configuration area, you're able to change your theme color that you're viewing Blazot in, fonts, time zone, and I'll get to this other stuff here in a second, but let's change the theme here real quick. All you do is click on one of these boxes, and now you see now you're viewing a dark theme. Change this as a khaki theme. This one's a red theme. So it just allows you to view Blazot with a little different color scheme. The one exception to this is if you land on a profile that's a level 5 subscriber, their scheme will override it. And that's part of the level 5 subscription because their branding may be very important to them. So when someone lands on their profile, theirs has to be the way they set it. So if it switches on you, that's why. It'll switch back as soon as you leave that profile. The font, this is the simple font. There's also what's called a futuristic font. When you click on it, you'll see the font changes here. I actually preferred this when I was first developing Blazot, and I think it looks kind of cool, but it is a little bit hard to read. And because of that, I ended up setting it to the simple font by default. So, it's up to you. You can change it if you want. This time zone, basically, this factors in what this time is, this time and date on the transmissions. And it probably affects a few other areas of the website too, but this is the most important area. If you see that the times are off, then you want to go and make sure that this is set right, because I do set this automatically by trying to guess what the time zone should be. If you're using a VPN or something, your browser is not going to have the right time in it, so this will set wrong. So you'll want to make sure and set this to whatever your time zone is so that you see all the dates and times correctly. And all you do is just select whatever yours is and click save. The direct conversations here, this is related to this conversations feature. And when someone sends you a message, they have to meet this criteria. So if you have it set to nobody, when someone starts to try to enter your name to send you a conversation, your name will show up and they won't be able to send you one. If you have users you follow, it will have to be someone you're following that will be allowed to send you a message. If it's everyone, then anyone can send you one, and it's probably not something you want. I do have the option here, but the problem with this is, scammers or spammers or whoever could start contacting you, and that's probably not something you want. So if you've got this set to this, I would really think about that, because you probably want it to be users you follow or nobody. The video autoplay feature here, this by default they're going to play, and this is for the videos that you or anyone has uploaded to Blazot. This does not include the Rumble videos or the YouTube videos, because, well, those don't play automatically, obviously. But the ones that are uploaded to Blazot will play when they scroll into view. And if you don't want that, you just set this to no and save it. And the benefit to setting it to no would be there's really two major use cases, and that's if your phone is maybe a lower level phone and you don't want those playing automatically, maybe it's too hard on it, then you want to set it to no. Also, if you're on mobile data, you may not want it to be using your data just as you're scrolling past videos and they start playing. So if you set it to no, then they won't play automatically and it won't be consuming data when they're playing as you're scrolling through the feed. The newsletter here, you can uncheck this and save it if you don't want to receive any newsletters. I don't send them out very often, but typically it's just talk about new features of Blazot or some general information related to Blazot. But you can unsubscribe here if you want. The change password feature is pretty self-explanatory. You would enter your current password and your new password, and then enter your new password again. I would not copy and paste it just to make sure that you're setting it correctly, because if you do it wrong, then you're going to have to go through the process of doing the forgot password thing while you're logged out and confirming through an email and all that. So just make sure you enter these separately. And as you start to type these in, on most browsers, it will give you the option here to click on this and actually see what you typed in. This two-factor authentication section is similar to how it is on many other applications and websites. It adds an extra step to the login process so that if your password became compromised, maybe you use the same password in multiple sites, one of those other sites, somehow compromised the password and someone got it and they come in here and try to log in. So if you do not have two-factor authentication set up, then they could use that password and your email address and get in. But if you have this set up, then it requires that they also have access to the app. Now, the reason that adds a little more complexity is if for some reason this Microsoft Authenticator app or your Google Authenticator app, whichever you use for this process, if your device that you have that on is lost or stolen or crashes, then you can't log in at that point because you would not be able to authenticate in the secure way that the app now expects you to. And because of that, once you go through this process, you will receive 10, I guess, are basically override codes. And you will use one of those to bypass this app. So it's important that once you go through this, that you save those codes somewhere safe and don't ever share them with anyone because they're essentially like using your 2FA to get in. So you would download one of these apps, you would enter this code, you can, if you're on a Windows device, you could copy it here, and if you can also click this icon here, this eye icon, and copy it manually through the field. On the native devices, those apps you download, it won't give you the ability to copy that, but you can copy it from here still. Paste it into the app, and then it will end up giving you a code that you will put in here, and then you'll verify, and that syncs everything up. And like I said earlier, at that point you will receive some codes from the application here that are essentially the override codes, just in case for some reason you aren't able to authenticate. Because what happens is you go through the login process. Normally you enter your email address and password, and then you go straight in. With this, you enter your email address, password, then you go to another step where it asks you to verify with a code from this Authenticator app once it's set up. Then you put that code in, and then it's like, okay, yep, we can confirm you are who you say you are because you have that information, and then you get logged in. And like I said, if you lose this app, you can't pass that step. So you will have to enter one of those override codes to let you in. And then at that point, you can either disable this or reset it with a new app or whatever. You would have to go through that process here. The API keys are mostly for developers. They can use the API to access and display transmissions, but you don't want to share these with anyone that you can't trust with them, because these do give access to your account in a way. Right now it's more minimal, but you're just pulling transmissions, but as the API grows, it's going to give more features, so you still want to treat these like passwords if you set it up and even use it. Most people aren't going to use this, but it does offer the ability to display transmissions in say a personal website or something, if you have a developer build it out. You can delete your account here too. It will take 90 days to complete, and that's just in case you change your mind, or someone maybe got access to your phone and deleted it, and you don't want to just automatically delete right away, right? So it would give it time to do all that. So now let's talk a little bit about subscriptions. Now, subscriptions are not something that's required. You can use Blazot, just like normal, and as it grows, there will be advertisements that show up just like other platforms, and that's how Blazot would make some money, is off those ads. And the alternative is you could sign up for subscriptions and not see ads, which again, like right now, there's not really any ads, so there's not a big benefit to that. It's just subscriptions would help the platform, and that's really all there is to it. There are some little extra features you get when you sign up for subscriptions. If you want, you can upload more images and transmission. You can read through these about the different features you get, and they display the transmissions a little different. The different levels of subscription maybe have a different color border on them. Like if you go back to here, you'll see I have it set up as a level 3, so it's got this kind of a turquoise looking color border. A standard transmission just looks like that. It's not as vibrant. And level 5, I don't have a level 5 one sitting here, but the level 5 looks just like this border. It's on this up here. It's a bright green in this theme at least. And when they sign up, well, you know what? First, let me show one other feature about level 5. So this site here is set up as a level 5 subscriber. So you'll see it looks a lot different than the normal profile. That's because a level 5 subscriber, because it's a lot more expensive, they get some extra features. And that's this, they get to upload a background image. They can change all of the colors, and these are colors were just set when I was playing around with it. So they can change all these colors and really customize the theme of their profile. And the reason is, say it's some large company, whether it's, maybe Chevrolet or NOS Energy Drink, or, some big company who really wants to control their profile. This gives them the ability to do that by going down and adding their background image, changing their theme colors, at a very granular level, and really controlling their theme here. So when people land on it, it's going to look how they want it to look. So I want to mention that. The different price points, the lower 3 levels are all pretty reasonable, I think. $12, $19.95, $39. Once you get up to level 4 and level 5, these are going to be large companies most likely, or people who are really in a position to be able to support Blazot, on a large scale. Yeah, I mean, that's about all there is to mention here, I think. If you need to send a support request, you can do that from the top right menu here. You could just create a new message and send it in from here and submit, and then it will be, responded to as soon as possible. Oh, also about subscriptions, I did want to point out something else, and that's that a user subscription is different than a site subscription. They're not the same. So if someone creates a subscription for a site, it would be independent of the subscription for a user. So the benefits of a site would be for the site. The user account, if someone were to create one, is just tied to that user, not to the sites. So I feel like that's an important thing to mention. So a little bit more information about sites. You create them from this menu here. On the mobile phones, it'll look a little different. You'll click on the hamburger icon in the top left and get down to it. But you can create a site from here. And you would enter your username here and display name and create it. Now keep in mind that this username can't be the same as any sites or users already exist, so it's got to be unique. So once you're back here, you can adjust some configuration for the sites as well, and this allows you to add moderators to your site. Just be careful that these moderators can, obviously manage the content and stuff on the sites. So make sure and only assign people that you can trust to manage that. And the API key is same as I mentioned earlier. It gives you access to the transmissions for this site here. Now let's go back and look at the site profile a little bit. So there's a few other things down here. Now this chat hub is a feature I'm still working on. This will eventually allow sites to turn on and enable a chat where people could come on there and live chat about something. Maybe there's some event going on or some specific reason why this site wants to enable that, but that will be an option. Events are basically like a schedule and results, but it might be certain events you're going to have throughout the year and some details about the event once you click on it and go into it. As far as advertising, sites can advertise, but they need to at least have a level 1 subscription in order to advertise. And these are just a bunch of test ads. But as you type out the text here, you can see it's updating over here on the right. So you could add images and choose whether you want it to be a link to an external site or actually link to your site on how you want that ad to run. The CPM, if you're a business who's creating an ad, honestly, right now, I would just set it to like a penny per 1,000 impressions, because since there aren't a lot of people advertising, then there would make no sense to set this high, because if there's no competition, why would you set it high? You set your budget to, whatever it is you're wanting to spend, $100, $1,000, whatever it is, and once it hits that, it stops. And now let's go look at notifications. Now there are two different types of notifications. There's notifications here for your user account. As you can see, there's also notifications here for the site itself. So once you land on your notifications area, if you click clear all and you have some unread notifications, it will just mark them all as read. If you click delete all, it will actually delete all the notifications. Or you can delete them individually by clicking on these X's. And if you click on these, if it's linkable, it will link to that particular, whatever reason it was actually set to you for. So this is about reaction to a transmission, so it will link to a transmission. And you can see once you're on a more of a transmission details page here that's about this specific transmission rather than a feed, it shows the responses under it a little different. There'll be multiple responses down here potentially all right below it. So it makes it a little bit easier to read all the responses that are about this transmission. And that's also like if you're on the home feed and any of them says read more like this. This is the same transmission, but you'll see this. If it says view responses, then there's going to be multiple, and that would take you to that details page as well. And the conversations feature, if you want to start a new conversation with someone, you click this button here. Now, when you're sending a conversation or starting a new conversation with participants, you would start typing their name in here. This will be their username. And if you aren't able to send it to anyone, then this, nothing's going to show up here. But if you are, and again, like I mentioned earlier, this is all dependent on how either the people that you're following or, people say it to everyone or, all that factors into who you're able to send them to. Now, if you're following someone, they're following you, and you have it set to followers, you should be able to message each other. And so once you enter that, then you go down here and you type in some message, whatever it is, and send it, and then that would start a conversation with this other user. And it would look something like this. So then, the messages will show up here. They'll have a little bit of highlights on them if they're a subscriber, and they'll have the icons and stuff here. So these icons, when you're a subscriber, you get a star next to your username that represents whatever level you're at. And you also, if someone is a verified user, there'll be like a little verified check mark here. This is something that is basically going to be reserved for individuals or organizations with significant public recognition. This might be actors or, various people who are well known in the public. Or for people with high risk of impersonation. So there's only a few on the account right now, and it's probably not going to be many for a while. And I suspect this also is going to need to be, there'll probably be a stipulation where you have to have a certain number of followers in order to be considered to, like it might be 100 or 1,000 or some number. So I don't know. I still have to figure that out, but that's what this stands for. I think that was about all I wanted to cover in this video. So if you haven't checked out the Blazot song and you're on a large enough screen for this column to show up, then check that out. It was a fun song to put together. And I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, but this box here, level 5 subscribers, will show up on every page. And they'll also show up in the feed. There's an area here. Yeah, they'll show up. And the who to follow, since this, I don't have a bunch of accounts here on my development machine, so they're not going to show up here, but you would be able to follow people in this box, and then there's a view more at the bottom where you could go off and view more accounts. You're not going to be able to see everyone, but you'll be able to see quite a few accounts. And anyone who first signs up, if they don't have any followers, they're not going to show up in that list either. So if you have a friend that signs up and you can't find them in there, then you can go up to the search box. You should be able to type in their username here and search for them and then find them that way. You just type in their name and hit enter or go or whatever's on your device to submit it. But that should take care of that. And I want to thank everyone for signing up for Blazot, and invite your friends and family and help it grow. Thanks. Bye.